the student body for being very cooperative, for comporting themselves during these moments of stress. Once again, I'd love to say that management has been very supportive with the advice and the flow of information. And there's a very reason why we have a lot of information at hand, but we need to be censored as to how we communicate. I believe a lot of students will love to know the SRC's position on the tax strike. The students will love to see a lot of communications on the tax strike. But it's most important that we focus our attention on keeping you safe and hoping that issues will be resolved. I believe that there are a lot of concerns that you want to raise. There's a reason why we need to bring the People's Assembly in place for you to put out your concern. There's a reason why we need as much as possible to always engage you. We are always willing to support you and to help you out on issues. I believe that very hopefully next week we can have the way forward as to how we are going to move around on campus and whether any decisions for management. But as to whether academic calendar will be truncated, academic calendar will change, whether the school will be closed, it's for management to decide and management to communicate. What we have to do as students leaders is to always help you, reach out to you, listen to your concerns, and to provide any assistance that you need. Myself as president of my administration, we are hopeful that we'll be able to provide the very best for you. Thank you so much for your support, your prayers, your advice, your criticisms. We much appreciate us in this house. Continue to do our best. Thank you very much. Well, it depends on the plans of the various hall presidents. You see, they need to consider highly COVID protocols. If they're able to do that, I don't think they'll have a problem organizing it. But I'm hopeful that they can be able to put out a stringent plan on COVID protocols and be able to have it successfully. That's what I'm hoping. But if they fail to do that, then I think we'll have a very problem convincing management in getting the whole done.
Sure. So it means you are still in the process, but it depends on whether the halls are able to show that they would maintain COVID protocols, right?
Yes, that's the only concern in regards to organizing huge programs with huge numbers. Because we need to consider the safety of students in many of the activities that we do. There's a reason why we would have to advise that in doing that they need to convince management highly in the SRC regards to COVID protocols and how they. Is the reason why SRC even organizes program and they have to book seats. General Secretary organizes Secretaries Connect, people book seats. So
yeah, even with the orientation, the first year students had to book their seats. This question I would have to ask SRC General.
The school does, but you see, the school needs to meet and make a decision on that. The reason why school hasn't been truncated because we have a positive concern in regards to how the tax strike will go, and we believe that the government can be able to step in and resolve the issues amicably, and it's one of the things that we are hopeful of. It's the reason why we keep on hoping that those things will resolve. We have February 10 to see the next line of action, and so we are following calendar, we are following conversations, and we will know what to do next.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mike.
That after the tax strike, we can be able to assess, because you see, international students also have programs at their various countries, and so if you have a change of the academic calendar, how does it affect them? All those conversations are conversations that we need to assess before we can be able to make a decision. After the tax strike, I'm willing to sit out with each and every leader and be able to understand how their concerns from each and every constituency before I put in a word or two regards to conversations of the change of academic calendar. Because you see, although I make decisions on behalf of students, I also need to listen to students' concerns before I can be able to do that.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mike, for that.
And he has an issue. You should be able to have a call center to be able to call, so the patrol team will move immediately. That's the plan the SRC is looking up to doing now. You see, that's the most important thing. You see, the reason why the guy is talking about this issue is not just because he's seeing, a patrol car moving around, but how can you be able to reach the patrol car? How can you be able to get the patrol car to attend to his needs?
So those are among the things SRC is looking at.
And the head of security is doing fantabulously well, because now he's been able to get various reps that are going to represent the constituencies. So you'd have to call the security, the rep on the security council. So Raf, instead of calling the police, they'll call the rep on the security council. Because he's a student, he'll be able to relate on that issue, and then the information is gotten to the police.
So that's for now.
that's the plan we are going to pitch regards to how the patrol team can be able to move immediately. And
But Mike, what you just said, I don't want them to even respond. It sounds like a long process. So let me explain. So an issue has happened. I have to call the rep before the rep gets to the police. Why can't we get direct access to the police?
One of the concerns of the fire service is that people just call and just joke around. You should be able to censor the information that you get. It's the reason why Focus FM during this conversation is censoring the information that you get and ask questions on that. You should be able to relate with the concerns that are being raised. We have a lot of reps from various constituencies. You should be able to find out whether that is actually happening, because students can just pick a phone and call the patrolling team just for them to use a phone, get there and see nothing. And so those are conversations and those are things that we should be able to stop.
Mike, I would honestly say I quite disagree with you on that. But just as you said, conversations are very subject to review. The reason I'm saying so is because we won't say because of certain issues of misinformation or certain issues of wrong information, we'll decide to cancel out our policies. Those things are extremities. Because I'm looking at it from a point of a student who has an issue over a short period now. Like, I'm being robbed now. I've been robbed. Hello, driver. The person running doesn't have a car, but is walking. Those kind of things are things that would have back and forth on them. But I'm always trusting, just as you said, your administration is an open one. You take the review of students, then you always decide to work on it. Please, let's, for again, the comments are very...
The petition to the local KNUST president. He just admitted that he engages government, and so that's the right thing to do.
But last week we had associations of SRC presidents go to Flagstaff House. Why didn't you go?
They did it on the note of USAC. SRC presidents are a part of NEC, which is under USAC, not unlike vice chancellors of Ghana, not like that.
So if this situation happen, you let local KNUST handle it?
Yes, they handle issues of national issues regards to students. But you see, the most important thing for us is to be able to understand the concerns of students. As SRC president, I will be able to collate the problems that are facing students and be able to file a petition to the next president.
Sure. No, with yours, let me even not ask you the specific. So you read the first semester budget. On reading the first semester budget, there were lots of things you people planned on rolling out. Even in fact, 3 weeks ago when the SRC PROs were here, they spoke about some recycling, plastic recycling gig which they spoke about, which they said by second week of February, God willing, they should be rolling it out. I want to start. How is that plan going on first?
A very exciting moment for me, because I'll love to see that the SRC executives and appointees have been doing a very great work, and I need to appreciate them. Through and through the mini meetings at the highest of hierarchies, I come back to see them do the basic things and get the work done. So, with regards to your question on the plastic for cash policy, I recently, this week, last 2 days, had an interaction with the environmental science department, and luckily for me, it's amazing to hear that, Raf, when you go right beside Brunei, there's a recycling plant that the university already has, and so we are also considering impacting. The only problem they are having is that they are not getting the plastics, and so the SRC needs to use advocacy and dedication of students to be able to get the plan working for us. We already have dustbins that's in for the segregation. What the SRC is going to do is going to be different. We are going to have a bottle-like mesh which we would be getting out very soon, that would host the plastics, and the plastic for cash policy is projected to have to create about a lot of revenues for the SRC. One of the plans. But before then, the most important thing for us as an SRC has been able to focus on security. When you look at the Maslow's theory of needs, you get to understand that security is one of the concerns that needs to be addressed, because if we are able to get plastic for cash raising revenues and students are not staying safely off campus, then we have a very big issue. So it's one of the issues we are looking at to tackle. Secondly, one of the things that we have to address, looking at the moment of strike, is to be able to now enroll our capacity building programs, to be able to get students actively involved in one or two things. But before then, we were very happy to have students engage us on Twitter on what's most important with regards to giving out a vehicle for the safety of students of campus. And there's a very reason why we need to introduce this conversation of the People's Assembly to this conversation, because Ralph, one of the concerns that we also need to know is that when we have people share ideas, we have people get involved in the governance of the SRC, then we should be happy. I think for the past week we've had the highest of involvement with regards to issues of the SRC, and I'm so much happy because you see students so much enthused of this promising administration, and our plans are great. I've enrolled one or two to you. We'll continue to enroll them.
Because I like points of conversations, I'll just remind you of a few things. First thing is, according to the budget and according to your PROs, the plastic for cash is to generate 200,000 CDs for us. How is that working with regards to the money generation? Because semester is about to start, and the reason we are asking this important question is we have to be able to relate the output to the input. If it is now you're going to talk to the people beside Brunei, when do we expect this kind of monies to get out? But secondly, the People's Assembly, kudos to you for that, because looking at the high population KNUST is having, there are lots of need for us to have people on the ground to get the needs of students. Can you give us an overview, something small, to give us the practical part of it? Because it was one of your biggest policies when you were running for office. Just two questions. One, with regards to the revenue generation, how we get the 200,000? Now that you just knew the Brunei people were there. I'm being sarcastic, but I'm joking with that. But two, People's Assembly, how does it look like?
Ralph, we are gracious to hear the news of the recycling plant. Ralph, the plan that we had with the plastic for cash policy was to be able to collaborate with the recycling company. Okay, it was part of the plan. But you see, now we are gracious enough to hear this news because now we wouldn't have to go and have a negotiation. Now we just need to partner with the environmental science department to get it done, because they have the instruments to be able to enroll that. How can we be able to generate about a revenue of 200,000 Ghana cedis? We are about 113,000 students plus here in KNUST. We are the biggest constituency in all the amongst all the universities in Ghana. So if I speak about getting 100 and 200,000 Ghana cedis, you got to believe I'm serious. Because one, if each and every one or each and every student in KNUST brings 2 bottles of water a day, 50,000 students, Ralph, you can imagine the amount of money you'll be getting when it goes to the weighing scale and all those things. 2, if you're able to quantify these in a month, project how much you're going to generate. I'm speaking in terms of the numbers that we have and how the SRC is going to benefit with the numbers. Ralph, we are serious business.
Okay, so People's Assembly structure, I wanted you to just give us like a brief overview of what it is for the first year students who are listening and have never heard of this, because I think for continuing students we know what it's about, but to give opportunities to the first years listening, what is the People's Assembly about and what is it?
Before I answer that, you see, one of the things that we have to talk about is how the administration over the past 2 days was able to accommodate the criticism that came from outsiders who were not, an embodiment of the KNUST community, speak about the plastic and the donation of the vehicle and how we're able to accommodate those conversations. Criticisms are one of the key things that puts administration in check. What the People's Assembly is going to do is going to open the avenue for ordinary class reps, for student leaders, floor reps, for constituency reps from various constituencies to be able to come together to deliberate with the SRC on issues and to be able to put the SRC in check.
So more like an extra arm of government. So we have the SRC executives, we have the SRC judiciary, and now we are having the People's Assembly. So it means that people would want to get from grassroots before it gets to parliament, or people would just want to work directly with them. But second question, I'm trying to ask for people who are listening to this for the first time, who's going to be the chair of the parliament or of the assembly or the speaker of the assembly?
So what we are going to do is that we are going to have them engage the SRC in conversations and to be able to debate about issues that are pertaining to students' concerned. What we realized over the past years is that SRC have not been able to open their arms to listen to the concerns of students. Who is going to be the chair? The chair is going to be the vice president.
The chair is going to be the vice president. Oh, very interesting. Good to know. But so let me just ask you. Then I'll read the Facebook comments. That's
Said there are a lot of issues with regards to matriculation, but I just want you to have a tip of a research.
Okay.
regards to things that you've been able to see yourself. And I'm just giving you a hint as to many of the things that are on the table, not specifically to say that's the reason.
Sure. So he said it's not the main reason, but it is one of the reasons. Yeah.
I'm saying that you asked me for a hint, and I didn't give you the overall issue, and it's very confidential because I'm not even had to discuss with my secretary. So I'm not giving you the actual reason as to it. I'm just giving you a tip off as to issues that have happened in regards to admitting students and how it's most important. We need to have a relaxing moment to make sure we have the number of students. Until I speak to my secretary, I cannot give it out.
Oh, it seems like the president is trying to hide the info, but still, as journalists, we'll do our job. It's been very nice. You guys getting sort of information or background as to why matriculations won't be happening this week?
Yes, we've had a tip off of matriculations. We had a meeting this evening. It's one of the meetings I came back from at this moment, and I was looking up to having my secretary have call for a meeting and meet up and discuss those information. And it's quite unfortunate I had to come and meet here in the studio. It's one of the issues that we are looking up to having to discuss, and so when we do that, we can be able to know the way forward.
So you're not going to hint us here now why you are not having matriculation. Can you just give us a brief summary of it, or you'd wait for official communique to come out?
The hint I would give you is that if you are much aware that people received messages as to applying for late admissions.
Okay.
All these things, you saw it last week. So the university needs to make sure that we have the overall students that have admitted, and to be able to make sure that everyone matriculates successfully. Because when matriculation is done, no admissions are done after.
Okay. So the reason why we are having matriculations cancelled out from the SRC president from a meeting he just left is because the school has opened out late admission.
What to do is to make sure that we would have a very safe environment for our first years and continuing students to be in. So we needed to, in as much as possible, having a very lacking moment with passing the budget, be able to negotiate with management to get us a vehicle that we could be able to refurbish. And that was one of the moments that we used to, show concern with regards to the increasing number of theft cases, the increasing number of insecurity of campus, and to be able to put in measures that even though there's inactivity on campus and off campus, students can be able to hover around without having issues of security.
Sure, thank you very much. But with regards to what you said, that's the point of interest. You know me, I like pointing out controversies around them. People are saying, and some people were trying to do economic analysis as to the priorities of needs and wants. I'm sure you saw that particular conversation going on. What's your response to that conversation, knowing that it had lots of media attraction and attention, which people gave diverse opinion? Is it that you guys didn't prioritize your needs and wants then, or what exactly?
I feel that the students have been much grateful with what the SRC was able to do, but the concern that we had with regards to the donating of the vehicle was regards to how outsiders don't have a feel of the security issues on campus. And so you would have them have to comment one or two. I had students who brought up brilliant ideas with regards to how we can solve the insecurity of campus, and it's one of the concerns that I most appreciate, because we have diverse conversations as to how ideas could be able to be beneficial to the SRC. We appreciate it. It's a very reason why you're speaking about a lot of activity and how you can get information out there, and it's the reason why the SRC in the very moment as of now is planning to launch the People's Assembly, so that even though we even have the conversations on Twitter, we may have students leaders also join in conversations to share ideas, because this administration is open to listening to ideas. So if you have to donate a vehicle and students join in to share their ideas, we feel it's a very good moment for us to also have the students to see that the activities that the SRC is embarking on, they really appreciate.
Sure, thank you very much, Master Michael Abua, for that. He's also given us his opinion and spoken with regards to the bus issue which transpired. And he spoke about the People's Assembly, which we'll dive into later on. But let's talk to the
whatever I'm doing to come here.
Sure, thank you very much for that. So I generally asked Afiz and also asked Benedicta what has been their response or what has been happening within the past few weeks. From your side as the SRC president, what exactly are the activities you...
Okay. are still planning on it, but then we are hoping that you have Valentine gifts for students.
Okay, so it means on the 14th for the students should be expecting a program, or also they'll be getting Valentine gifts.
And we're still planning.
Okay. Mike, you are saying?
I'm saying that the students need to side with us that we need to put a lot of planning into that. We can't advise all presidents to, bring stringent measures with regards to COVID and expect the SRC to freely say that they are going to organize programs without putting out ideas as to how to bring out stringent measures with regards to COVID. And so it's a reason why the secretary will tell you we are still planning.
Sure, we are still planning, but we are expecting gifts. And we are at the studios of Focus FM next week, Monday, by this time, God willing, we'll be expecting our gifts, even if we might not go for the program. Nooks, what are the plans?
Okay, I would say you should look out for media capacity and then build up program, which will be for the journalists or the media men on campus to enhance them on how to do their work and how they should relay information to students. I think
So that's a major program we're expecting from your office.
Yes.
Media sensitization and enlightenment for them.
Yes.
But why the need for this? Do you think that the media men have been underperforming, or are you just equipping them?
Oh, I'm not saying they are underperforming, but then you have to equip them to build them very well for their job, and you have to also equip them, and they have to know how to disseminate information to students as well.
Just a cheeky question: Do you have all the media houses registered under you, or do you know the total number of media houses in KNUST yet, or anybody can just pop up right now and say they are doing media?
We are now coming to license them. So after we are done licensing them, we would know the number of media houses on campus. But then I know with the help of my PRs, they've been able to gather all the media men on campus as of now.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, a very big shout outs to the PRs. They've been here lots of times. They even came here to defend the budget. It was a very interesting episode. You could always check it on Facebook Live. That was fun, Kelly and Valentine. But let's talk to KNUST president. It should have happened this week. In fact, it should have started. Did your office or did anybody by chance give you any hints that it won't be happening? Or did we get any information as to why there's no matriculation happening this week?
No, please.
No, please. So don't you think so there are no reasons given to you from authorities as to why matriculation was cancelled or wasn't happening?
No, please.
Thank you very much, and you're still live on Focus 94.3. Performance is our specialty. But let me ask the president to confirm, because
with the help of the PR, we've been able to send out some links to students to join. So I think maybe they've not seen the link to join.
I know, but see, it's not becoming, because you are working. You say you are working, but they are not seeing it. So where is the problem? You can answer if any of you want to.
Sometimes too, the problem might be from the fact that they are not, most of them don't come to campus anymore. Because normally when a program is going on, we utilize as many means of this information dissemination as possible.
Like
Maybe notice boards, but we don't have notice boards of campus.
Hafiz,
Yeah.
what are you saying right now?
Oh, I'm saying that the means of letting students know what program is actually going on, a factor of it is the fact that they come to class. They come to class, they come to the colleges, they are on campus. But these days when you wake up, like the guy said on the voice note, they don't come on campus.
No, but there's nothing for them to do on campus. So now that there's nothing for them to be done on campus, and we live in a world of digitization, how are you telling me this?
And that's why I'm saying that there are lots of forms that we utilize in information dissemination. We just have to power up our flyers and our social media publicity.
Sure. Thank you very much, Master Hafiz, for that.
Those to our college executives, since they've been organizing online classes for students, especially the first years, and they've been also organizing course materials for first years to learn ahead. And I would say a very big thank you to the SRC and the KNUST, since they've been also organizing skills. They've been equipping students with skills and then educative programs.
So you think they've been doing that over the period? How has the feedback been? Because last I checked, most students have gone home if we check it very well, we have less than even 40% of KNUST population on campus or off campus at the moment. So how's the feedback been if they've been doing all this? Let me ask Hafiz for that.
Okay, I would say that stakeholders are in consultation, and then we all know that lecturers are all part of they are all members of UTAG, and they are all waiting on their mother body to say something. So I would say that they shouldn't go on demonstration, but then they should wait on the government.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ms. Benedicta, for that. And she's also on the same tangent with them. But Master Hafiz, let's get back to you.
Last week we've been up to Secretaries Connect. Yeah.
Secretaries Connect. So
Yeah.
this is the second time it's happening. I think it first rolled out last year.
No, third time.
Third time. Okay,
Yes,
oh,
please.
that's good. So it means it first rolled out during the time of Sewakoto.
Sewakoto.
Then we had Miss Stephanie Ofri-Prempe also organize hers. How has yours been, and how did it go out? Can you just give us a brief summary of how it's been?
Mine was, let me say, it was a workshop, and it was in 3 sections. That was the first section was about minute writing, report writing, and business letters and proposals. And the second section was about filing, referencing, and effective meetings, and then how to deal with external officers. And the third section was about information technology, since you're in the digital world.
Oh, then that's interesting. Then it means there were lots of educations done over the weekend.
Yes, please.
Oh, then that's great. We would always applaud SRC and NUKS for doing such a wonderful job. But now, let us dive straight into the conversation.
I'd like to add my word to the secretaries earlier, commending the various student leaders on campus for managing the situation well and trying to engage students. I think that's a very good thing. Whilst these big elephants, I mean the UTAG and government, are fighting, or they are doing what they are doing, and we students are suffering as a result of that, we should try and maximize the times or the opportunities that we get. We should try as much as possible to be very productive. We should not engage ourselves in things that will harm ourselves, because in as much as the SRC and the NUKS are having various security policies, the first security comes from yourself. So you need to secure yourself. You need to be very security conscious yourself, and you need to be on your toes. You need to be on your toes so that you know what is happening. And I think we'll sail through. This is just one of the many things that happen to humanitarian institutions. We'll sail through this, and I'm hoping that very soon, while the SRCs and the NUKS are adding their word or adding their voices, the government and the UTAG could listen and reach some point where academic activities could start. We are hoping for better days ahead. I'll just urge all students to stay calm and be very conscious of themselves and their surroundings.
Any special shout outs?
Oh, special shout outs. So, looking at what I said earlier, or considering what I said earlier, all my shout outs go to the student leaders, all college presidents, department presidents, all the General Assembly, the NUKS General Assembly. They are doing a very wonderful job. And we'll be having our first sitting on 17th of February. We'll have a surprise guest. In due time, it will be communicated.
Will the media be allowed to this?
Yes, definitely. The media will be allowed.
So we're waiting forward to that happening. Thank you very much. And that was...
Well, I think this one, I would go with the official mouthpiece guys. We are also still planning. We are also still planning. Ideally, it was supposed to stop on yesterday. Yeah, it was supposed to stop on Saturday, sorry. But then we felt that most students have not registered yet, so we gave an extra time. That is today. By Wednesday, we should have that extra time expired. So we are hopeful that by Wednesday, it should have ended completely.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know, Mike says he wants you to do the honors.
He wants me to do the honors.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to use a case study to make the explanation very simple.
Beautiful then.
Yeah. So in KNUST, the SRC president is the highest authority. So when there is a problem, let's say the vice chancellor tells all students in KNUST to sleep at 6 o'clock. Now, students in KNUST are bothered with that policy. They don't want to sleep at 6 o'clock. It's a mandate on the on the SRC president to meet the vice chancellor, engage the vice chancellor on reasons why the students shouldn't sleep at 6 o'clock. Now, when the government of Ghana says that all students in Ghana should sleep at 6 o'clock, now if KNUST students are bothered with sleeping at 6 o'clock, now it becomes a mandate on the KNUST president to engage the government to make sure that these things are checked. So the KNUST president is a liaison officer.
Okay, so for clarity, and the reason I wanted to do that is we also have the General Assembly happening. Now that we're having all these streams, what exactly is your position of like the General Assembly on this? Because we want to know, if the General Assembly, how often do you guys work? Because the reason I'm asking this question is most people don't know about KNUST General Assembly. To be very honest, I think for most first years, they don't know that General Assembly exists. What are your plans to make sure you project the General Assembly this year? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with us having multiple assemblies where there are representation, but what plans do you have to make sure people are able to know the General Assembly is in existence and they would work?
Okay, so first and foremost, we want to have an increased number or an increased times on which the General Assembly meets, so that they could deliberate better on issues. So we would have General Assembly sittings multiple times in a semester. And the General Assembly in KNUST is an extension of the Executive Committee. So then we will be discussing, we'll be deliberating about the policies and the implementations of the Executive Committee and how we can make students' life with respect to the various departments, or with respect to the various classifications on which the KNUST wants to work. So the General Assembly is just going to help the Executive Committee plan better.
So you plan on expanding the General Assembly this year?
Yes, we plan on reaching a lot of constituencies, like the disability students. We plan on reaching them. Like we plan on making a sub-assembly in Obuasi, so that we could delve deeper into the Obuasi. We plan on getting a sub-assembly in IDO, so that we could delve deeper into the matters of IDO. We want to reach everywhere.
So for those of you in my DM confused about KNUST,
so looking at the way things are going now, we would have to adjust our plans a bit, and we would want to empower, we want to strengthen our leaders. We have a KNUST General Assembly where we have reps or leaders from various departments, and we would want to strengthen them so that they could become strong in times like this, because we wouldn't want times like this to happen again and student leaders would have problems with how they would treat or with how they would go around with their constituencies. So we would be empowering student leaders. That would be a focus in our administration. We would also have welfare programs because of the times that we are in. We would have a lot of welfare schemes and programs that we'll be introducing. We'll have academic programs because obviously the strike, when academics calendar kickstarts, there will be many things to catch up on. And when, God forbid, something like this happens again, the students should have some skill set that they could be advancing on. They shouldn't always be waiting for schools, their normal school classroom work. Some of them could start some online classes and all this. So we'll have academic programs to equip students in that regard. We also have capacity building programs, and then we would embark on some advocacy, because looking at the way things are going, we don't know how the private hostels are going to turn out. Sometimes they might say that they have already given the fees, or the hostel fees that students have paid would end immediately the time that they thought the academic calendar would end. It means that their hostel fees should end. But then I don't think that should be the case. So we have to work around things like this in order to prevent if should it happen or not, we should work around things like this so that we don't have students stranded at that time.
So this semester people have lots of things to do, and really hope you do them, because the way the semester could just take everybody in a fast like flux. So we're expecting advocacy, and that advocacy part is very important because lots of students are worried about whether when we are done with the academic year.
So I don't see the school closing down anytime soon, because just like we are following the issue of the NLC versus UTAC, they've been asked to go back to the negotiation table and find a middle ground or solve their issue, or if they are unable to, they should come back on the 10th of February for the court to handle the issue. The thing is that what I see is time for them to make a decision, time for them to do something, time for them to be able to reach middle ground. That's what I see in this week coming.
But Hafiz,
Yeah.
for the past 5 weeks,
Yes.
they are yet to reach a middle ground.
Yes.
Don't you think we should just go home as students, because we've paid for academic? The biggest reason why people came to university was specifically for academics. No academics have been happening. Our lecturers are having a tussle with management and also NLC and equally government. Don't you think the best thing to do now is to just sit down and watch them have their tussle and get back in?
Okay, so the thing is, I'm not in a position to say whether the students should be allowed to go home or not. I think as time goes on, the best decision or the best way forward would be, with regards to the issues that will be happening as the week continues, the best decision will be reached.
Sure. Thank you very much, Hafiz, for that.
Before I speak out, I would like the students to know that we really share their pain. We really do that. We really do share their pain. There are lots of reasons why they might not be. Some of the students might not know what is happening. There are a lot of reasons why. We are trying our best to make sure that the programs that we organize reach as many students as possible. We are trying our best. I think this voice note that we are also listening to would be a charge to us to make sure that the programs that we are organizing already will make them reach far than they are already reaching. Because as for programs organizations, I know we are doing some, but then maybe it's not reaching the people, it's not reaching all students. So what we'll do is that we'll take that charge and we'll increase our publicity, and we'll increase the way we allow students to know what is actually going on with respect to what student leaders are doing.
Sure. Thank you very much, Master Hafiz.
I would like to talk about something I know, so I would go into KNUST. So KNUST have rolled out a program called the KNUST Opportunity Hub, where we tell students about various opportunities that they can engage themselves in while they are idle. They say the devil finds work for the idle hands. So we are trying to get work for them. We are trying to make them start something. The Opportunity Hub, we get a lot of, you see, I can't be everywhere, but from the response I get, a lot of people enroll in so many of the opportunities that we bring out there. Lots of students, and we get feedback from all of them.
Sure. Thank you very much, Master Hafiz, for that. You're still
noticing that the strike is the major problem that is inhibiting a lot of progress as far as academic activities are concerned. They are engaging with management. Even though it's a UTAC government problem, but we are an institution. So we are also engaging management of the institutions to see the way forward, how we can deal with our students, how we can roll out some things that would engage our students. Student leaders are doing that. That being the primary thing they are doing. They are also, you know that we also plan for the academic year. We also have programs that we want to do at every time in the academic year. Now, this thing has also caused us to go back to the thinking table and now find something that we can do for students whilst they are here. Something that might not have been something that we would say we are coming to do, but because of the situation, we now have to plan as fast as possible and find some ways to be able to engage students while this strike is still continuing.
Yes, but that's where my question is very important, because it's 5 weeks. Within 5 weeks, it's getting to this 5th week, sorry. Within 5 weeks, we are expecting lots of things from the SRC and KNUST itself. And I think this question will be addressed to you. Hasn't there been any point in the conversation where people have thought of probably organizing teaching assistants or organizing senior colleagues to be able to teach the students? Or is there anything hindering that process, Benedicta?
Oh, I wouldn't entirely agree on that. I think student leaders have done their best. Student leaders are continually doing their best as far as this strike is concerned.
Their best as in how? We need like tangible work, because everybody is in, and this is why this question is posed at you importantly, because you know that student leaders take up a bigger position when there's always a power gap existing. So now lecturers are on strike, everybody's in their room, nobody has anything to do, we've paid our dues.
Point that you are making, but the point is that what are we looking for it to care by the end of the day? We are all worried about this strike because we are seeing it to affect students gravely. Now, when we embark on a demonstration, be it that demonstration might be peaceful or might not be peaceful, if it goes the other way around, students will be affected worse than the way they are being affected now. So why don't we try and find other ways? As we are still on the same issue, let's try and find other ways than going to the entrenched position this early. Like I'm saying.
I get you very much, Master Hafiz. I think your point is clear, because looking at the kind of impact demonstration or the extreme case can have they reached out to you?
No, please, they've not reached out to me.
But what do you think about their plea, about them saying they'll be going for a demonstration?
So, in my position, the few experiences we've had with demonstration, especially me being a KNUST student, when I came first year, there was a demonstration on campus. Now, we had to go home due to that demonstration. I was a first year student, so I really felt it. It really hit me so hard. I went home, there was nothing happening, there was no academic activities, and there was a lot of like withdrawal as far as academic activities is concerned. I would say that demonstration is a far-fetched stance, or it's an entrenched position to be at the moment. We as university, we as student leaders ourselves are even embarking on a subtle demonstration that is engaging management. I think that's in a form, that itself is a form of demonstration.
But not to cut you short, don't you think it's quite unfair to assume that every form of demonstration could exist as a violent one? Because we've had lots of demonstrations happen within the country. But the thing is, you're looking at it from the worst case scenario. Demonstration within democratic spaces have always been used to express extreme form of grievances. And the truth is, we are in our 5th week. We've paid for hostel fees. We've paid for academic fees. We've been using all our money and all our...
Students have a kind of contract with university management for students to pay their fees, and the university management to provide teaching for students. Now, I would say that students have not entirely, but almost lived to the end of their bargain. They've been able to pay their fees. Everybody is set for academic work. But then the university management is not living up to its task, or is not living to the end of their contract. But then you wouldn't blame them entirely, because there is also a third party, an extension, that is preventing them from doing this. We are having the government not satisfying their proposals or satisfying their needs, hence causing all this back and forth. We want to engage both stakeholders. Our take on this particular issue is that all stakeholders should realize the people suffering the most from this event, and try and find a better solution, or try and find a better way of handling this issue. Because at the end of the day, it's not that they are doing us a favor by teaching us. They have a contract with students that they are supposed to teach us, and we also understand that they are not doing so because a third party is preventing that thing from happening. So we are engaging both stakeholders to make sure that they settle their differences, and let's try as much as possible so that students can have a wonderful life and go back to academic activities.
Makes a lot of sense.
I think this week in particular, what KNUST has been doing, or what we've been in the media mostly for, it's the SIM registration, re-registration for MTN. So we've been doing it throughout the week, and I think that's what we've really been hammering on this week. Yeah.
And how's the process been like? How has the outcome been?
I think it has been very wonderful. You know MTN. A lot of students haven't used MTN, so yeah.
Well, why did you decide to choose just MTN? Why not the other networks?
We are still in talks with the other networks, but because we want to ensure COVID-19 protocols, we decided that the ones that have been confirmed, that is MTN, let's roll it out when the other ones come on board, then we can do it in that fashion.
Sure.
I think that one will reduce COVID-19.
Sure, thank you very much, Master Hafiz, for that. That was awesome. For those of you who don't know, the MTN SIM
having the money to pay. So KNUST came in to support them financially. So it's one of the things we are taking very critical with this administration. And then I'm glad you brought it up, so we'll work on that. Then with regards to what you said about the business, right? Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this flyer, but then there's KNUST Startup Talks. I don't know who has seen it. Anyone? KNUST Startup Talks. Alright, so it's a secret, but I'll tell you. So KNUST Startup Talks is all about it's to help entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs, and then more often they are not able to get to the students. Most I don't know who has started a business here. Anyone with a big business here? Anybody who doesn't? Yeah. Please, what do you do?
I bake bread.
You bake bread. You bake bread.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Please, any other person?
I also bake.
You also bake? Wow. Yeah, I can get to sort it out. Oh. Yeah. But then, poetry. Hey. Alright. Then any other person? Yeah. You are to breakfast. Please. What sort of breakfast?
Okay, so rice porridge, we have meat balls, it's a breakfast package. It's BMF, Break My Fast Food Services.
Break my fast.
Break My Fast Food Services. Yeah, so we do breakfast is coming with fruit salad and your bread and margarine.
We started KNUST Startup Talks. It will be aired live on Focus FM. So most probably it's going to be held every week. And then every week we'll be inviting student entrepreneurs. Okay, and then they are going to actually talk to us about how their business started. So it could be any one of you. It could be the committee will work on handpicking those who will be coming. It is going to be very fair. Very fair. The picking will be very fair. So we'll invite people from time to time to Focus FM. So you get a platform to actually market your stuff. And then via this, using this, we're actually looking at interacting with you also. How do you start a fish pie? If you can come with us, how do you start it?
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. One's philosophy is not best expressed in words. It is expressed in the choices that one makes. And the choices that we make are ultimately our responsibilities. This is the dawn of a new era, a time to embrace a new beginning with the responsibility to deliver. I would want to express my profound gratitude to every single person that played a role in the administration so far. History has just begun, and we all have a role to play in it. Therefore, it is necessary to acknowledge the efforts of the great men and women who laid very solid foundations for our local leagues. It is truly evident that a benchmark has been set. Now it is time for us to merge, build and align our vision to that of our forebears to help us achieve even greater. The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have little. Based on this, our administration seeks to bring its leadership right to the doorstep of students by revitalizing its connections with the entire student body and listening to individual voices, because there is nothing more frustrating than leaders who don't hear its people. This, I believe, will bridge a divide that has been missing from student leadership. The more reason this administration will roll out more relevant and impactful programs to benefit the ordinary Ghanaian students in KNUST. There will be programs that will be related to welfare. There will be welfare packages that will be released out in times like this. You know, we have come to school for more than a month, and lecturers are not in class, students are spending. So it means that KNUST has to do something for students so that it will buffer them. I'm sure most of us have prepared for only this semester, or what we thought to be a semester. But because of the circumstance, KNUST has to provide other things so that students can have a wonderful life on campus. So by this saying, we'll be rolling out welfare packages, we'll be giving some monies to students just so that they can buffer their upkeep on campus. We'll also be organizing cultural integration programs for our international students. So all those who come from other countries to learn in KNUST, from Nigeria, from Togo, and from France, obviously. We will be having cultural integration programs so that they can be able to fit perfectly in the community. We've had more fraudulent activities that people who do not know how to speak the local language, they go outside and they want to do something and they are being duped or they are being frauded. We want to extricate this problem. So KNUST will be embarking on several cultural integration programs just to help our international students. We will also organize academic workshops just to make the students more fit and vibrant for the world outside. So we'll be organizing academic workshops, we'll be having skills training through web IT and all sorts of relevant skills that is needed for a student to have, just so that you can be needful or you can be needed in the world outside. We'll be having capacity building seminars, we'll be having leadership symposiums, there will be a lot of programs that we'll be embarking on. All this is to make the student a whole piece, so that when you go out there, you wouldn't have problems fitting in the society. I would want to thank everyone for coming. It's a pleasure to see a room full of beauty and most of all, great leaders. Special thanks to the leadership of the General Assembly and to the French ambassador for making this possible. We really hope together we will build a much more strong relationship, and at the end we will bridge the divide we serve the good students of KNUST together. Thank you very much. Aluta continua. Thank you very much.
I have a singular honor to welcome in our midst an individual who has lived her life serving mankind and then doing her possible best to make life better for people. This person is a mother of two, also part of the 100 most influential change makers in Ghana. She's also a finalist in the Pan-African Most Positive Impact Influencers. She was also honored with the French National Order of Merit in 2008 in France. She was also awarded the nominee as a Discovery at the Ghana Movies Awards last year. This is an individual who was born in France, Paris, and since the year 2018 has been serving as the ambassador of France to Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, student leaders, help me with a standing ovation, round of applause. Let's welcome Her Excellency and Sophie Avin. We hear a brief speech from them. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks very much for giving a bit of your time. I was happy to come to Kumasi, and I thought it was important to have a chance to speak to the students. We have cooperations between France and KNUST. Just spoke to your pro-vice chancellor, and so someone actually recorded it, so I swear it's true. What I told him is that all the French universities who come to Kumasi to try and entice Ghanaian students to come and study in France, their opinion, the feedback they're giving us is that KNUST students are great in terms of academic level, great in terms of behavior, great in terms of adaptability, and they are only too happy to have KNUST students in France. So congratulations. So I understand you are leaders of students. I don't know how you got there. I used to be the class prefect as well when I was at school. I never really ran for elections, but the way we did it is because we didn't have any candidates who wanted to do that, because it was time consuming, and then your head would stick out. And so usually the decision was the last person to get into the classroom will be the class prefect. And as you can imagine, I very often came in last, because I was always busy chatting in the corridor, and I used to come last in class, so I was very often the class prefect. But then, I used to take my role very seriously. Sometimes some students were having bad grades, or tough times, or discipline issues, and I would always jump in and defend them. So I remember just before the final exams, 3 of them had been caught doing, I don't know, something. I can't even remember what it was, but it was obviously not nice, a bit messy. So they had been kicked out of school for a week just before the examinations. And of course, I felt I had to defend them. And the headmaster, the vice chancellor of, it was actually the headmaster, it was high school, he summoned me and he said, okay, so they have been kicked out, expelled for a week. That will give them an opportunity to learn and prepare for their examinations. So please, don't be like a union leader, let it be, it's fine. So they knew that I would have this kind of, I don't know, temptation to be like a union leader. And indeed, everyone thought when I was in high school that I would go to university and study law, because there was something in me that inspired being a lawyer, defending causes and things. Well, for some bizarre reasons, I thought, let's not. And I went to study in an MBA in Business and Administration. And then I thought that public administration was something much more exciting, and where we could make a difference. But I've always kept that habit of being a bit of a lawyer, an advocate, and defend everything and struggle and fight for whatever I thought was fair, which exhausts my teams, because I have dragged them along in the fights. But at the end of the day, when we make it, it's so satisfactory. I have absolutely no secret or no advice to share, because the world you're in is so different from the world I grew up in. And what has worked for me in this environment might not work for you in this new world that you are so familiar with, this world of social media, the world of internet, the world of globalization, the world of mixing, and it's so different from, in my world, let me tell you, when I was your age, we had a landline at home, and when we wanted to give a phone call and have some privacy, we had to pull that thread and lock ourselves into the room and close the door. But then we usually had 2 phones, right? And someone could pick the receiver up from another phone and actually listen. We had absolutely no privacy. When we wanted to give a call and we were not at home, well, either we would rush home or we would look for a telephone booth, which is something that may sound completely vintage to you, but it was those little cabanas in the middle of the road where they were red or green, and then you had a telephone, and it was usually busy when you needed it. So you would use coins, and of course in the middle of the conversation you were running out of coins, which was a good excuse to cut short, actually. In my time we didn't have internet, we didn't have mobile phone, we didn't have all that. So it has changed the relation that people have among each other. It has changed the way we look for a job. It has changed the way we network. In my times, when you wanted to network, you had to play golf, which I never did, or to go to the local cafe and mix with people, or to attend some conferences, and if you were lucky, you could eventually stumble into someone you had been longing to meet and then pretend it was completely by chance. But networking was much more difficult than it is now. So you live in a completely different world, and I'm not sure I could be 20 now. I wish I were, but I'm not sure I would find my way around if I was 20 now. But what I think is going to remain, whatever the environment, whatever the technology, and that's the human. Even behind the keyboard is always a human. And I believe that from what I've learned, traveling, meeting all different people from different cultures, that human is human. And if you do, whatever the way you do the interactions, what matters is to give respect and talk to the people respectfully, because eventually they will respect you back. And here in Ghana, I think that is this perfect example. You are an amazing people as a whole. We give you just one hint of love and you flow tons back. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you very much. I'm ready to take your questions if you have questions, and try and answer as best as possible. So I don't know who is holding the microphone and emceeing the whole thing, hosting. So if anyone has a question, please go ahead. The scholarship secretariat, we do also some scholarships directly, but this has a direct purpose to students. If you have a project and you have put that formally into an association, and that you have a very clear strategy of the kind of project you want to put together, and you have a provisional budget and a clear strategy, we do call for projects in specific areas. Therefore, you can apply for these calls for projects, and then you can get a grant. But we will not fund something just based on your beautiful smile. If you come to me and say I have a project and how about giving me a grant? I cannot do that. What we have to do is ask you to make a little effort to put together, clarify, formalize your project, apply in the call for project, and if your project is interesting, then we will be able to fund part of it. My buying Wache. Actually, first of all, I believe that the first role of an ambassador is to create bridges and link the people. And to do that, we need to have an intimate understanding of the country we are staying in. It's impossible to get that intimate understanding, let alone the fact that that's not the way I would like to do it. By staying in an office and reading the press and trying to get this knowledge through literature and only. It is important to read about what's written. It's important to read the press. It's important to talk to the authorities and to hear what they have to say, to talk to MPs, to talk to university leaders, to talk to journalists. That is important. We are opinion makers or opinion conveyors. But it's also important to understand the culture through everyday life. And this will be linked to the question of women. Here in Ghana, if you do not go to the market, if you do not live like, if you don't go to villages, you do not understand the importance of women. You have to go to Makola, you have to go to Medina, you have to go to villages, you have to go to celebrations. I went to Easter celebration in the Volta region to understand the importance of women, how important they are, the impact they have, the importance of queen mothers, but the importance of mother in general, mothers in general. They are pillars of the economy. They carry the families on their shoulders. And this is something you can only understand and touch on if you really mingle, if you live with the people. Indeed, when you are an ambassador, especially when you're an ambassador of a country that may have more visibility than France, and possibly in a country that is not as peaceful as Ghana, the issue of security makes that very complicated to just be a normal person. But here in Ghana, because it's peaceful, it's secure, and because when I go to, and thanks to the masks, COVID. When I go somewhere, I'm just a normal brony hanging around. No one actually pays attention. So I can have a normal kind of interaction with the people. And that's really what I like. I'm not sure if that answers your question. The focus on the youth, it's just a focus on the people. 60% of this country is under 30, even under 25. I mean, if you don't focus on the youth, there's not many left to focus on. So of course, the youth is the future of this country, is the present of this country, and you have an incredible youth. You mentioned, of course, some of those people who are famous, but I've met so many young people who are between 20 and 35, who are just incredible, talented, creative, hardworking, dynamic, and I thought that there is something boiling there. You can sense that in this country, the future of this country is its youth, its dynamism, the number of projects they want to have, the enthusiasm, this capacity of moving forward. And this is really something, it's not focusing on because I think it's the right thing to do. It's because it is what it is. I mean, Ghana is a very young country in many aspects. So if you are interested in this country, interested in the development of this country, accompanying it, the youth is the ones you have to work with, because they are the ones who are leading and are going to be tomorrow's leader, if not already today's. Any other questions? Somewhere on the campus here, you go to see them, any scholarships possibilities they know, so they will tell you about scholarships to study in France. That's what we do. We don't do scholarships to study with other people. So scholarships, go to Campus France. That's the only place to go. Disability, we don't do internship at all. We don't do internship in the embassy at all. And that's just how it is. We just don't do internships. So if we did, of course, we would make sure we have people, we would be inclusive, but we don't. Yet we do a lot to support associations that are supporting people with disabilities in terms of inclusion. And when we do those call for projects, we also look at choosing projects that have a component about inclusiveness, women, disability. So I can only, if you want a sum up of what we do in disability, I don't know if you know the TV show that we have put together, which is called Touch of France, that you can see on YouTube. There is a channel, so you can watch the show. There is one episode with Farida Bedway. She was my guest, and in that episode we explain all we do in France and France in Ghana for disability. But when it comes to internship, we just don't take internship, whatever it is. Supporting student entrepreneurs is the same question as student projects. Not because it is a student does it make any difference. If you are an entrepreneur at the same time as a student, it means that you have a startup, and then there are many channels and support that you can get as a startup. There are some hubs like Impact Hub, Hub, that help you put together your project. We are looking at the moment, I am working with Expertise France and AFD on the projects funded by France to do some sort of a online business center for young entrepreneurs to find all the information and how to start a business, how to put together the proper documentation, how to produce a provisional budget, how to keep records, who are the institutions that can help you and that you can talk to, how to formalize your project and your strategy so you can actually go and see a bank and get your first loan, and all the advices, and that would be online, so that would be much easier. But the fact that you are a student as well as an entrepreneur doesn't make any difference. If you are an entrepreneur, then there's a whole set of possibilities that are offered to support you. And we are trying to support that. And then the moment your business begins, and I always suggest to begin small and then grow up slowly, then you can have some support from French, Proparco, that is going through the banks or through equity funds, and then you can get some access to some capital. But that's when your SME, when your startup becomes an SME, and you can start investing in it. Unless there are other questions, you are lucky because you speak several languages from a very early age, so your brain is already sort of has worked out at this capacity of catching up and picking up other languages. So you already have that asset. The second thing is, if you have learned a bit of French at an early age, you may have not used it, you may have completely forgotten it, but the moment you will revive it and polish it up, then it will come back. It is engraved somewhere. So learning or relearning French at an age, you have many possibilities. Well, first of all, I think you've noticed that you are surrounded by French-speaking countries. So wherever you want to go, north, west, east, I know the only way is forward, but if you want to go anywhere around, obviously you have to speak French, or you have to know how to swim. But learning French is going to be very easy for you because you already speak many languages, because you've already learned a bit of French when you were at the early stage, because you can have interactions with French people, French-speaking people in the neighborhood, and because of those new technologies in the internet, you can watch movies in French. If you watch Lupin on Netflix, watch it in French, so with subtitles. If you want to listen to the radio, you can listen to RFI. On some DSTV or Bouquet, you can catch France 24, but you can also catch that on internet. So, and on the French Embassy website, I have bullied my team to ask them to do a toolbox for French. So if you go on the Embassy website, there's somewhere you can find something that's called Toolbox, and there's all the links to resources to learn French for free on the internet. So it's quite easy to learn French when you are in Ghana, because you're really close to those opportunities. But I do agree, it takes practice, it takes listening to the French and learning through French songs as well, or watching TV, watching something that you like, watching the news. But I'm sure that you can very easily pick it up, and much, much easier than I pick up a tree, I can tell you. You asked for climate change. We, of course, are very involved in that subject, as you know. The Paris Agreement was signed in Paris, therefore that's just one symbol of how important this climate issue is for us. But I don't think, well, there are things that we can do to support Ghana in their effort to go to sustainable energy, to reduce the pollution by plastic. So there are many projects where we could support, and we do support the government in their struggle against the pollution and things that are not environment friendly. But you see, unfortunately, the air we breathe is something that crosses borders without any visas and passports. And so the climate change, the fight against climate change is something that we have to address internationally. It's, of course, the sum of everyone's effort. But to coordinate these efforts, this has to be agreed internationally. And not everyone can walk at the same pace, because we're not all at the same level when it comes to how much we contribute to this climate change. So all these international conferences that we've had, where people get together, discuss, and if you follow what's being said, you can see that some countries are a bit reluctant to move forward because they sometimes balance fight against climate change and sustainable development versus industrial development or economic development. And I believe that the truth is that there's no it's not contrary, it's not contradictory to have sustainable development and industry development. It's just going straight to an environment-friendly development. And in this regard, yes, there's a lot we are doing. Our fundings for companies, our fundings for infrastructures, our fundings to support SMEs are very much related to how the environment element is respected. So that is what we can do bilaterally. But thanks for giving me the opportunity to tell you something. The way France and most European countries partner with an African country is not we come and we tell you what to do. It is we are here and you have leaders, and in Ghana you have leaders who have been democratically elected, and for the past 30 years this has been working pretty well. And they know what they want to do. They do their public policies, and our role is to support these public policies. We are not here to teach anyone what to do. You guys know exactly where we want to go, you know exactly what we need to do, and we are here to support. Well, if there are things that you would like to do and that you would want us to fund and we disagree with it, we might play it hard to get. But so far, when we've been asked to support the microeconomy, the defense, the environment effort, we've always said okay, and we've been trying to get funds. And because the French taxpayer is not so wealthy, we also use the European fund. And very, very often, we can do what we do because we have the European Union helping us, supporting us, and we hopefully we look in the same way and we agree on a lot. So I also want to praise the European Union. And the last question was, you shouldn't leave the country for greener pastures. The grass always looks greener to a neighbor, but you see, there's a big difference between going to a country and spend a week as a tourist and enjoy it, and that's great, and then you feel, oh, that's where I want to go. And worst case scenario, you've only seen pictures on the internet, or you only know a country through what you see on TV or through the movies, and say, that's where I want to go. There's no place like home. When you are in a foreign country, a different culture, a different language, your family is not with you, you don't have friends to support you. But your life is not going to be easier, and it's not going to be paradise, and it's not going to be a heaven. So you're going to go through tough times. Even ask the Ghanaians who live in France. There's a lot, I think you should ask them. Not everything is fantastic. The big difference is that if you have difficult times in Ghana, you have your friends and your family to support you. If you are alone in a foreign country where it's very cold in the winter, what's the point? Especially when you have studied, when you have qualifications, when you have knowledge. It's great to go for a year abroad, it's great to go and see